My name is David Beavers. I'm the keeper of the Royal Pavilion, which is a rather old-fashioned title, but it basically means that I'm in charge of the restoration of the building and its presentation to the public and investigating its history. It might be useful to introduce this by just briefly saying what a saloon is, because what does it mean to a modern generation? But a saloon is in fact a very grand room in a grand house, where the master of the house would greet his guests, usually before leading them into dinner. It was also on occasion used for musical performances and also for dancing. They were developed in the 1630s in France. They became relatively common in grand aristocratic houses in the 1670s in this country. But by the time George created a saloon here in 1787, it was rather old-fashioned to have it on the axis of the front hall, as our saloon is. It's a very French, both in name and in position, and slightly old-fashioned, rather typical of George. The policy of the department for many years has been to restore the pavilion to its appearance in the 1820s, which was the time of the last great phase of redecorations by George, who, of course, by then was King George IV. The saloon was, at first, the only grand room in this building. The two other rooms, the banqueting room and the music room, were not instigated until 1817, and then not finished until the 1820s. So until 1817 there was a music room and there was a dining room, but they looked nothing like the current music room and current banqueting room. They were rather more modest rooms.
John Nash's pavilion, which was developed and highly elaborated from a much simpler building designed by the architect Henry Holland. Nash's building is often considered a single work of art. It has so been called that, in that each room, if you like, plays off its adjacent rooms. I mean, Nash shared with the Prince Regent, George IV, a love of theatre, and I think you can see in the way in which the rooms are juxtaposed a sense of using drama to heighten the experience. Visitors would come into the long gallery, which was lit by flickering candlelight in lanterns and firelight. Would go through one of the lowest doorways in the pavilion into the banqueting room, which just explodes in front of you with enormous height, tremendous chandeliers and dragons and tables set for a banquet. And that moment of drama is sort of very important to the way I think the building was seen to work. And as you go through the building, you go from the banqueting room through another door into a low, cool drawing room, and then you'd go into the saloon, into this regal splendour, and then you'd go out again into another low room, and then into the music room. And these are all well thought out. You know, it isn't just a sequence of rooms decorated in different ways. It's planned as a whole, and the saloon is central in every way to that effect.
It's one of the three great staterooms in the Royal Pavilion. It was designed by decorative artist of genius, Robert Jones. The two other rooms, the banqueting room and the music room, the music room is more or less fully restored. The banqueting room is incompletely restored. The saloon was hardly restored at all. And these are the three great rooms, the three state rooms, the most magnificent rooms in the palace. And the compromised state of the saloon meant that of the three rooms, it was perhaps the most disappointing for our visitors and the most incoherent. And so it seemed an obvious room to attempt to restore.